The room buzzed with the weight of the ongoing political tension. The world, it seemed, was holding its breath, waiting for the next diplomatic move in a global chess game. In the heart of the international summit, a small group of influential leaders gathered, each one poised to tip the scales of power in their favor. But it was in this charged atmosphere that Ibrahim Traoré, a leader known for his calm yet unyielding demeanor, would experience a moment of shock, not from a geopolitical blow, but from a compliment. A simple, yet profound acknowledgement, from someone who held no fear in her words. Jasmine Crockett, the fiery U.S. Congresswoman, who had become a force in her own right, stood before him, looking not like a politician, but a person who truly understood the human condition. Her words, simple as they were, pierced through the clamor of global rhetoric. "Ibrahim," she said, her voice cutting through the room, "you are not just a leader. You are a symbol of resilience for all who are fighting against the tide of injustice. I've never seen anyone command such strength without losing themselves in it." Ibrahim paused, the weight of the words hanging in the air. This was not what he expected. In the arena of politics, where sharp words and strategic moves ruled, such raw honesty was a rare and precious thing. For a moment the room fell silent. Jasmine's eyes locked with his, an unspoken understanding passing between them. She had seen something in him that many others missed, and Ibrahim, for the first time in a long while, felt something stir inside him, a spark of recognition, not just of his own struggles, but of the larger journey that bound all of them together. But what would Ibrahim do with this compliment? Would he allow himself to believe in it? Would he let it challenge his own perceptions of strength and what it truly meant to be a leader? Act 1. The weight of leadership. The summit had begun, like any other, a series of strategic discussions, geopolitical maneuvering, and formalities. Yet for Ibrahim, it had always been about more than just the politics. Every decision he made weighed on his soul. Every word he spoke shaped the future of an entire nation. His mind drifted back to the early days of his leadership, the years of struggle, the countless sleepless nights, the battles fought both in the trenches and within himself. He was a man forged by the flames of adversity, but he had long since learned to hide his doubts behind a mask of stoic resolve. As he sat across from Jasmine that afternoon, watching her fiery spirit in the midst of the negotiations, Ibrahim couldn't help but wonder, was it possible for someone like him, someone who had been hardened by years of conflict, to accept such vulnerability? Jasmine Crockett was no stranger to conflict herself. A woman of deep conviction and fierce intellect, she had risen through the ranks of U.S. politics, not by playing the game, but by redefining it. She was as unyielding as Ibrahim, but in a different way, driven not by a sense of duty but by a fire to make things right, to challenge the status quo. And yet, despite the distance between their worlds, they shared something profound, a desire to fight not just for power, but for justice, a longing for change that transcended borders and alliances. As the summit continued, they found themselves drawn into conversation. It was casual at first, about mutual acquaintances and shared experiences. But as the discussion shifted to the global issues at hand, the struggles of the African continent, the challenges of leadership in a fractured world, something deeper emerged between them. Ibrahim spoke about the burden of leadership, about the sacrifices he had made, about the countless people who had placed their faith in him. Jasmine, in turn, spoke of the struggles she faced, fighting for justice in a system that seemed determined to hold her back. In that moment, Ibrahim realized that Jasmine, in her own way, had seen through the facade. She understood the cost of leadership, the loneliness that often came with it, and the pressure that pushed even the strongest to the edge. CT2. The twist. The conversation shifted once more. As the summit wound down, the political tension that had been building throughout the day erupted in a new way. Unexpectedly, Jasmine turned to Ibrahim and offered him a compliment that would shake him to his core. Her words were simple, yet they felt like a bombshell. "You are more than just a leader, Ibrahim. You have become the embodiment of what it means to fight for your people, to stand firm even when the world tells you to bend. I see your struggle, and I see your strength. Ibrahim was taken aback. It was not the words themselves, but the way they made him feel. For the first time, someone had seen him not as a political figure or a military leader, but as a human being, struggling, just like the rest of them. He could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him, forcing him to confront something he had long avoided, the vulnerability beneath his armor. As the room fell silent, Ibrahim's mind raced. The sudden rush of emotion was overwhelming. His heart, hardened by years of war and political strife, began to soften. Jasmine had given him a gift, a rare moment of clarity in the chaos of his life. She had seen him, not for his position, not for his power, but for the man he truly was beneath it all. For the first time, Ibrahim allowed himself to feel that recognition, and it felt like a revelation. ICT 3. Emotional breakthrough. The realization settled in slowly, like a drop of rain sinking into the parched earth. Ibrahim wasn't broken. He wasn't invincible either. He was simply human, trying his best, just like everyone else. The days that followed were filled with discussions, strategy, and diplomacy. But in the quiet moments, Ibrahim carried with him the weight of Jasmine's words. As the summit came to an end, Ibrahim found himself standing before the gathered world leaders, ready to give his final speech. His voice, steady and resolute, echoed through the chamber. But within him, something had shifted. He no longer felt like a man trapped by his own image, fighting to prove his worth. Instead, he stood there as someone who had come to terms with his own humanity, flaws, doubts, and all. I stand before you today, Ibrahim said, his words clear and unwavering, not as a leader who has all the answers, but as a man who has fought for what he believes in. And I believe that true leadership is not about power or dominance. It is about understanding the pain of others and standing together to overcome it. The room was silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Resolution and closure in the days that followed. Ibrahim and Jasmine's bond grew stronger as they continued to work together, both in politics and in spirit. They found solace in each other's presence, understanding that their paths had crossed for a reason, to challenge the world together, not from a place of power but from a place of shared humanity. As Ibrahim looked out over the horizon, a sense of peace washed over him. He had never thought that a simple compliment could change the course of his life, but it had. In Jasmine's words, he had found a mirror to his own soul. And for the first time in a long while, Ibrahim Traoré allowed himself to hope for something more, not just for his people, but for himself. Call to action for YouTube. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.